Yo, it's yo boo. Yo, I'm sending a cuss away today, bro. We're finna watch The Billionaire Serial Killer, the case of Robert Durst. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna take long in the intro, but if you're a billionaire killing people, you just ruin a perfect opportunity. Anyways,
The only thing certain in this world of ours is that nothing's certain. That's the fact. You never know what people are truly behind the tailored suits, tucked in shirts, finely combed hair, and good etiquette. If you're still unsure, then today's story will definitely change your mind. Welcome back to Twisted Minds. My name is James, and this is the case of Robert Allen Durst, a convicted murderer and suspected serial killer who has recently been incarcerated. The eldest of four children, Robert Durst was born on April 12, 1943, into a Jewish family in Scarsdale, New York. The family consisted of Seymour Durst, his father, who was already a successful real estate businessman, and his mother, Bernice Durst. Robert's grandfather, Joseph Durst, had emigrated to the United States from Austria-Hungary to establish the Durst organization, of which Seymour Durst and his own, Robert Durst, were heirs. Clearly, Robert was born into the Jewish upper class of New York, and as a result, had the best of the best available to him at all times. The best toys, clothing, and food that a child could have, and the best education a parent could wish for. He was a modest performer in school, and others around him expected him to grow up to be a successful professional man, or at the very least, a successful manager of the Durst organization. However, none of that turned out to be the case. Despite the fact that everything looks like it's already set up for Robert to have a wonderful life, the truth is his childhood was far less than ideal. Robert Durst had three siblings, two brothers and one sister. With his brother Douglas, he would spend an unhealthy amount of time fighting and arguing to the point where it would often result in serious confrontations with blood being shed. The exact causes behind the fighting are hard to come by, but the two brothers were eventually evaluated by a psychiatrist who noted a presence of personality decomposition and possibly even schizophrenia.
What does that even mean? Personality decomposition. Bro, nigga just be coming up with names, bro. I never heard of that, bro. What the fuck?
However, one event occurred during his childhood that many believe to be his psychological breaking point in a sense. The death of his mother, Bernice Durst, by falling...
By the way, if you have that, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be insensitive or nothing, but you know, bro. I just be saying whatever comes to my head, bro. If you know me, you know, bro. You know.
From the roof of their home.
So my bad.
Robert himself had said that moments before her death, his father, Seymour, walked him to a window from which he could see his mother standing on the roof. Many believe this to mean that Robert is insinuating that Seymour forced Bernice to commit suicide. But this is contradicted by Douglas Durst, who says that Robert had never witnessed their mother's death. Whatever happened, we can all agree that life in the Durst household was rather tough despite the wealth and opportunities. Tough to the point where Bernice Durst felt the need to kill herself. Nothing much came out of the police's inquest into Bernice's death, probably as a result of the influence and power Seymour held being at the helm of the Durst organization. Robert was resolved to finish his studies respectably anyway, and after graduating with decent results from high school, he enrolled at the prestigious Lehigh University at Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, to earn a degree in economics. His high school peers considered him a recluse, a loner. Later that year, Durst enrolled...
Damn! Niggas called him a loner. That's crazy.
PhD program at UCLA, but dropped out and returned to New York in 1969. When it came time to find his employment opportunities, he decided at first to not join the family business in the Durst organization. Such a decision was quite probably driven by his feelings of hate and distrust toward his father because of the way he supposedly showed him his mother's final moments. The next twist in this particular small story, however, might surprise you. Since Robert would not take over the family reins and supposedly wanted nothing to do with it, his father Seymour handed it over to his brother Douglas, who was the second oldest son. This move angered Robert to a great extent.
Bro, this is crazy as fuck, bro. A nigga that has his whole life set up for him. You got a whole company about to be given to you. A whole company already made. The nigga already made it for you. All you gotta do is fill his position in. And you don't want that? Like, bro, what's the point of life at that point? At that point, just do what your mom did, bro. At that point. Because I'm not going to lie, bro. What else are you going to do, bro? You going to be homeless? What are you going to do, bro? You don't want the money? So then what do you want, bro? What do you want, bro? That's your whole life is money, bro. So if you don't want that, then what? What do you want, my nigga? Like, come on, bro.
Expressed his bitterness at being passed over and not given what was rightfully his, referring to control of the Durst organization. Such a move completely perplexed and dumbfounded his immediate family, especially Douglas, who was accused of stealing his position. From 1992 to 2006, this would cause a rift between Robert and the rest of his family that could not be bridged. And legal action regarding this matter was finally settled in 2006 for a sum of $65 million. Now, with this background of a mentally imbalanced man in mind, we can move on to the parts of his life story that earned him this video you're watching. Kathleen McCormick was a dental hygienist who was in her fourth and final year at Albert Einstein College of Medicine and was due to receive her degree soon after. She and Robert met in 1971, right after she graduated from high school, and the two had begun dating soon afterward. The courtship quickly led to marriage, and they settled in Vermont at first as Robert founded and managed his health food store there. The connection between Kathy and Robert was immediate and reciprocal on that beautiful Sunday afternoon in the fall.
Yeah, obviously. Obviously, you're gonna get. That doesn't mean you gotta get married to her, bro. That was really the lifestyle back in the day. Like, get married, have kids, get a house, get a wife. He probably married her so he wouldn't look like a loner. I'm not going to... Before even hearing the end of the story, he's probably going to tell us that he didn't even want to be with her in the first place. He just did it for his family. Or like, some motherfuckers wouldn't think he's a loner. He's probably going to say that shit, bro.
It was the start of a storybook relationship, according to Kathy's brother, Jim McCormick. They had then moved to Manhattan after Seymour Durst, Robert's father, had requested Robert to move back to help run the Durst organization. However, by that time, Robert's broken mind had caught up with the marriage, and the marriage had devolved into regular fits of shouting, shoving, pushing, and swearing. Then
suddenly... Wait, what? Wait, hold on. What?
Broken mind had caught up with the marriage, and the marriage had devolved into regular fits of shouting, shoving, pushing, and swearing.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put my hands on a woman, you feel me? Unless it was in self-defense, but, bro, I'm not gonna lie. This shit? Like, bro, this nigga is dumb as fuck, bro. Like, you're gonna give... we already past that. Like, bro, he married a shorty. He said quickly after he met her. So that means that was within a year? 2 years max? Come on, bro. I'm not getting married to a shorty at all. But if I was, I'll wait at least 10 years, bro. I don't care, bro. 10 years, bro. I do not care. I'm not marrying a shorty that's gonna leave me in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Even if you date her for 10 years and marry her, she can still leave you the next day. You never know. You never know. Because niggas' feelings could change. But that bread will always stay the same. It always will, bro. It always will.
Then, suddenly, McCormick went missing.
Focus on the bread, bro, not the bitches. Come on.
Kathleen was last
Focus on the
seen
bread,
by
bro, not
somebody
the
other
bitches.
than Durst on January 31st, 1982, at a dinner party held by her friend Gilbert Najami in Newtown, Connecticut. McCormick showed up to the dinner agitated and was seen wearing red sweatpants, which Najami thought weird because she had previously dressed in much better gear. Following a phone call from her husband, McCormick departed for her marital residence in South Salem, New York that same night. Robert would later say that he placed his wife on a commuter train to New York City at Katna Station, had a drink with a neighbor, and later that evening spoke to his wife on the phone in their Manhattan apartment. He then claimed that all he did was go home and sleep. Well, not really. In fact, the couple had a bitter argument that evening, and then the story gets more interesting. McCormick and Najami were meant to meet at the Lion's Gate in Manhattan after McCormick had left Najami's residence. When she didn't show up, Najami got anxious and phoned the cops multiple times over the course of several days. Durst also filed a missing persons report later that week. A doorman and the building supervisor at the couple's Riverside Drive apartment claimed to have seen McCormick there on February the 1st, the day after she was last positively seen. But the doorman added that he only saw her from behind and from half a block distance and couldn't be sure if it was her. 3 weeks before her disappearance, McCormick had been treated for facial bruising at a Bronx hospital, which was the work of Robert. She informed a friend that Durst had beaten her.
Bronx hospitals, yes sir. He had to mention it at some point. There was going to be a point he was going to mention it, man. I was just waiting.
But she did not pursue charges. After that, McCormick requested a $250,000 divorce settlement from Robert, to which Robert, on the other hand, reacted by revoking his wife's credit card, taking her name off a joint bank account, and refusing to pay her medical school tuition. And another piece of detail that made this case tricky is that Robert had been seeing another woman for 3 years, Prudence Farrow, and was living in a different apartment when McCormick vanished. When one of McCormick's friends and her sister learned of her disappearance, they broke into her cottage in the hopes of finding her. Instead, they discovered the cottage had been plundered. McCormick's mail had been left unread, and her possessions had been thrown away. The New York City Police Department stated, after McCormick's disappearance, that Durst claimed to have last talked to her when she phoned him at the Riverside Drive residence. He said that the last time he saw her was at Katna Station, where she was planning to take the train to Manhattan at 9:15 p.m. He further said that on February 4th, McCormick's medical school supervisor phoned him and informed him that she had called in ill on February the 1st and would be missing for the whole week. It's still unclear if McCormick actually made the call, but Durst reported McCormick missing the day after receiving the call from her medical school. 8 years after her disappearance, Robert legally divorced her, citing spousal abandonment. With these circumstances, many feel a sense of discomfort as the character of Robert and his actions surely seems sketchy. Those at the time with the mind geared towards suspicion surely believed that he was responsible. But without the evidence, it was impossible to get anything done. And this is where our next character in the story, Susan Berman, comes in.
He was seeing her too? She died?
Susan Berman had been a longtime friend of Durst since they met at UCLA. She had helped him establish a public alibi following McCormick's disappearance, and she was also the daughter of David Berman, a renowned mobster who managed the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada in the late 1940s. It was the same David Berman who was well known amongst the much more famous men in organized crime, such as Benjamin Siegel and Lucky Luciano. With this in mind, you'd be correct in assuming that Susan had more than a few underworld connections at hand, or even probably had the skills and involvement herself. However, Berman was soon discovered slain in her house in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles, California, on December 24, 2000, after her neighbors reported that her back door was open and her 3 fox terriers were loose. A few days later, Berman's address and the term cadaver appeared on a letter addressed to the Beverly Hills Police Department, stamped December 23rd. Beverly was misspelled as Beverly on the envelope. Durst was last seen in Northern California days before Berman was slain and flew from San Francisco to New York the night before Berman's body was discovered. She had just received $50,000 in 2 installments from Durst. Despite confirming to the Los Angeles Police Department that he had paid Berman $25,000 and faxing detectives a copy of her 1982 deposition on his missing wife, Durst refused to be questioned further about the murder. The last part describing Robert's extremely suspicious behavior is even more compounded by the fact that upon hearing from his sister that the McCormick's case was being looked at again by the police, he had simply disappeared from his home and disguised himself as an old woman to avoid interactions. Just what was going on? Well, we're sure that the next part of this story will only make that question louder. Robert was arrested on October 9, 2001 in Galveston when body pieces belonging to his elderly neighbor, Morris Black, were discovered floating in the Galveston Bay. He was released on a $250,000 bond, but failed to appear in court on October 16th, prompting a warrant for his arrest on a charge of bail jumping. He was apprehended at a Wegmans supermarket in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania on November 30th.
Like, bro, this nigga is really dumb as fuck, bro. Like, did he think he would get away or something? Did he think he would get away or something? He paid a $250,000 bond. But he didn't show up. Did you think you were gonna outrun them for the rest of your life? Like, bro.
For attempting to shoplift Band-Aids, a newspaper, and a chicken salad sandwich, despite having $500 in his pocket. Police discovered $37,000 in cash, 2 firearms, marijuana, Black's driver's card, and instructions to Gilbert Najami's house in Connecticut in his rented car. If you remember well, you'd know that Gilbert Najami was that old friend of Kathleen McCormick's, who had seen her immediately prior to her disappearance and death at their last dinner night together. Clearly, Robert was not up to good with the instructions. He went so far as to stalk his brother Douglas outside his home in New York while armed. Yes, that's right. He was armed while stalking his brother. Fortunately, he was caught and deported to Texas to stand trial. Robert was prosecuted for the murder of Black in 2003. The prosecution charged Robert with premeditated first-degree murder and no lesser murder or manslaughter counts in his killing. He hired defense attorney Dick DeJurin and claimed self-defense. DeJurin prepared for the case by holding 2 mock trials. Dr. Milton Altshuler, a psychiatrist, was engaged by Durst's defense team to figure out why he was having trouble speaking with him, which got on DeJurin's nerves. His whole life's experience is so compatible.
Bro, what's wrong with their eyes? What? Is this real? This should look Photoshop, bro. What the f...
with a
This nigga whole face look Photoshop.
diagnosis of Asperger's illness. Altshuler said after spending over 70 hours evaluating Durst and diagnosing him with Asperger's syndrome. According to Robert's defense team, Black a grumpy and aggressive loner, allegedly snatched his .22 caliber Target handgun from its hiding location and threatened him with it. The handgun fired during the battle for the pistol, hitting Black in the face. He admitted to dismembering Black's body with a paring knife, 2 saws, and an axe during cross-examination before bagging and discarding the remains in the Galveston Bay. Prosecutors were unable to offer enough forensic evidence to refute his version of the battle because Black's head was never discovered. On November 11, 2003, a jury acquitted him of murder due to a lack of forensic evidence. By now, you really shouldn't be surprised. We can be reliably sure that this story was a lie too. Durst pled guilty to 2 charges of bail jumping and 1 count of evidence tampering for dismembering Black's body on December 21, 2004. He received a 5-year sentence with credit for...
And it was 2004. How do you get caught? I'm not gonna lie, bro. If you get caught anytime behind 2000s, you definitely not making it in 2021. If you get caught back when there was barely any cameras, like the foundation of cameras, where shit was in 180p, couldn't even see your face, then I don't know what. I don't know, bro. I don't know. At least personally, me, I'll wild out. I don't know about y'all, personally. Me, I'll wild out, but I wouldn't do no shit that he's doing. This nigga's doing some weirdo shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, look at him, bro. He's a billionaire. Not anymore. Not anymore, nigga. You're in jail. You're poor. You are now poor. This is what you wanted to be this whole time. You wanted to be poor so bad. You're poor. In the jail cell, though.
Time served as part of a...
Actually, he probably got all that bread in his bank account. This nigga could probably stack up on the chips and flip them shits. He looked like the type that could get finesse. But these do look like his goons. He look like he pays them or some shit. Probably pays them.
Forcing him to serve 3 years in jail. Durst was released from prison on July 15, 2005. He decided to follow this up with something you might be astonished to hear. The terms of his release included that he must remain in close proximity to his house and that he must obtain permission to leave. However, Durst went to the boarding house where Black was slain and a neighboring retail center without permission in December. He came across Susan Criss, a former Galveston trial judge who presided over his trial at the mall. The Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles found that Durst had broken the terms of his parole and sent him to prison as a result of this occurrence. On March 1st, 2006, he was freed from jail once more. Do you remember that we previously stated that Robert consistently harassed his brother Douglas for money out of the Durst organization's fortunes? This is what he used the money for. When questioned in March 2015 if she believed Durst murdered Black, Judge Susan Criss responded, "You could see that this person knew what they were doing and that it was not a first time. The body was cut perfectly like a surgeon who knew how to use his tool on this bone and a certain kind of tool on that muscle. It looked like not a first time job. That was pretty scary." Even the judge was naturally suspicious and was sure that a murder was committed. Sadly, the lack of evidence forced her to rule against the prosecution's murder charges. By this point, Robert Durst's story became rather well known. It was well known to the point where it led to multiple interviews that revealed his erratic and deceitful nature to the public. This snowballed into The Jinx, the life and the deaths of Robert Durst, a 6-part HBO documentary that revealed circumstantial evidence tying Durst to the death of Berman, who was suspected of knowing about McCormick's disappearance. Despite the advice of his attorneys and his wife, Deborah Lee Cheriton, Durst agreed to give the filmmakers several interviews and unlimited access to his personal archives. Durst was apprehended by the FBI in New Orleans on the same day that the last episode aired. The documentary ends with Durst moving into a bathroom where his microphone records him seemingly saying to himself,
"There it is. You're caught. What the hell did I do? Kill them all. Of course."
That right there, however incoherent, was the smoking gun.
Wait a second. He just admitted?
Kill them all.
Seemingly saying to himself,
"There it is. You're caught. What the hell did I do? Kill them all. Of course."
that right there, however incoherent.
Bro, he's such a old head. He forgot he had his mic. I'm not gonna lie, that shit probably would happen to me. If a nigga was doing that shit and I had to use the bathroom real quick, I wouldn't know the mic was on me still. I'll probably know this last second, but damn, bro, how did he feel, bro? After he got out and he realized he had the mic on him, and like, how did he feel, bro? Niggas, bro, like us, bro, we just more simple, bro. Rich niggas like him, I mean, he was diagnosed with some shit, but and the household he was raised in too. But bro, rich niggas always have some type of problem. Like they have something in them. It's the bread or some. There's like some that are chill, but there's some that are just. They just a rich snobby niggas like him, bro. This nigga commits murders thinking he could get out, like, pay $250K bonds like nothing, bro. Like, bro, fuck you, nigga. Like, bro.
Smoking gun.
I'm not gonna lie. Give that $250K to the hood, and niggas is gonna flip that shit, bro. $250K, half of a $250,000. Basically, on bail. Easily paid. Imagine if you just had $250K in your bank, you'll be set for at least 2-3 years. You'll be set for at least 2-3 years.
Durst was captured by FBI officials on March 14, 2015 at the Canal Street Marriott in New Orleans, where he had registered under the fictitious identity Everett Ward, only days after a Los Angeles court approved a first-degree murder warrant in connection with the Berman death. After driving 4 days to New Orleans from Houston, Durst was followed to the hotel after making 2 calls to check his voicemail. He was seen roaming aimlessly in the lobby and moaning to himself. On March 15, 2015, New York State Police investigator Joseph Basura, who has long been involved in the McCormick case and is said to have worked closely with the FBI and Los Angeles detectives, removed 60 file boxes of Durst's personal papers and effects from the Campbell Hall, home of Durst's friend Susan T. Giordano. Durst's then-wife, Deborah Lee Charlton, had delivered all of these artifacts to Giordano for safekeeping 3 years before. Videotaped depositions of Durst, his brother Douglas, and Charlton, all of which were relevant to the Black case, were also kept at Giordano's home. The trial of Robert Allen Durst that followed was long fought and extremely complex, with him fighting it tooth and nail. Highlights of the case include a conditional hearing that was held in February 2017, during which Nick Chavin, Robert's close friend and best man at his wedding, claimed that Robert had personally confessed to murdering Berman. The preliminary hearings featured significant testimony from a number of older witnesses who might not be accessible when the trial starts.
I'll be back, my camera died.
Concluded that there was enough evidence to charge him for the murder of Berman. Durst pled not guilty to the charges the next day in court. His attorneys released court documents on December 24, 2019, contradicting his prior assertions and admitting that Durst penned the note in yet another surprise move. Durst has repeatedly denied writing the message, despite the fact that the handwriting looks to be identical to his own, as does the misspelling of the term Beverly in a preceding letter to Berman that Durst acknowledged to sending. Needless to say, nothing Robert Durst did was able to convince the judge of his innocence, and after dragging it on for another 2 years, on October 14, 2021, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for Berman's murder. His lawyer's motion for a new trial was granted by the court due to the overwhelming evidence supporting his guilt for the crime. And that was the end of Robert Allen Durst's disturbing story. However, there's more. It was reported in October 2021, shortly after Durst's first-degree conviction for the murder of Susan Berman, that the Westchester County, New York District Attorney's Office would impanel a grand jury to consider charges against Durst in the 1982 disappearance of his first wife, Kathleen McCormick Durst, although the District Attorney's Office never confirmed these claims. Durst is now on trial for a new allegation of murder in connection with the suspected death of his missing wife, Kathy McCormick, who had been missing for 39 years. And that's not all. Police were apparently investigating links between Durst and the disappearance of 18-year-old Lynn Scholes of Middlebury, Vermont, and 16-year-old Karen Mitchell of Eureka, California, only days after the Berman murder. Scholes, a Middlebury College freshman, was last seen near a bus stop across the street from Robert's health food store on December 10, 1971, the day she went missing. Credit card records placed him in Eureka on November 25, 1997, the day Mitchell vanished. Mitchell may have helped at a homeless shelter frequented by Robert, and he may have visited Mitchell's aunt's shoe business disguised in women's clothing. Mitchell was last seen heading to work from her aunt's business and maybe conversing with a person parked in an automobile. A witness sketch strongly resembled.
Bro. What? They said strongly resembles him? Just with the gray hair and the glasses. Maybe the eyes, but god damn, the nose? God damn.
This is an ongoing story, and we will no doubt be able to see and know more regarding the original victim and this depressing story, Kathleen McCormick. Hopefully, we will know exactly what Robert did with McCormick, which will help provide closure to her surviving family members. Perhaps Robert Allen Durst's story is a cry for attention and help toward two things: mental health and knowing the right person to trust, to see beyond a person's true appearance.
Yeah. Hey. That's it, bro. If you want to, oh wait, what is it about to say?
Thanks for tuning in to
Just the outro. That's it, bro. If you want to subscribe to your channel, you feel me? Don't be like this guy. Please don't be like this guy. Please, bro. This is the great. I haven't even heard about this case. This is probably the dumbest case I've heard in a while. A rich billionaire gives his life up to murk some shorties. Weirdos. Niggas is weirdos. Anyways, bro, we've been through that, but also, bro, what I was gonna say, the niggas you want to expect is most likely the niggas that did it. Cause I'm not gonna lie, my bad. The niggas that are like niggas wouldn't expect this shit, they do it cause that reason. Niggas wouldn't expect it. So that's why they do it, because they're like, you feel me? They word is good in the you feel me? They word is good, so it's just crazy, bro. You really gotta see motherfuckers. But, hey, that's the everybody. If you miss watching this channel, you feel me? To catch you next one, bro. Stay safe.